Today's guest connects writers with opportunities through her Substack publication, Authortunities. She's the author of How to Be an Authortunist and the publisher of Space and Time magazine that hardly even skims the surface of Angela Yuriko Smith's contributions to the publishing industry. Dale L. Roberts and I had the privilege of sitting down to talk with Angela about her projects in the first of what will be many nonfiction showcase interviews here on the BrandStack podcast. I'll turn it over to Dale now to introduce our guest and kick off the conversation.
Actually, I ended up connecting with her through Substack, and boy, as soon as we started chatting with each other, man, became best of friends. Her name is Angela Yuriko Smith, and she actually put out a very interesting book called How to Be an Authortunist. And she actually does a great Substack every week where she curates and distills all the information that any author needs to know, the opportunities they need to have in front of them. So it's with great pleasure that I get to introduce Angela Yuriko Smith. Angela, I really wish I could remember every last thing you do, because you're involved in a lot of things. Like, share a little bit more beyond just how we're going to talk about your book here in just a second here.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most exciting is I'm the incoming HWA Horror Writers Association president, starting appropriately enough, October 31st. So any of you horror writers out there, hit me up because I'm going to be your girl. And we recently started a community through Mighty Networks for Authortunists. And that has been amazing when you take the algorithms from the social media who wants us to stay in social media to feed their pockets, and you bring all of us out into our own community where we're actually working together and promoting without all the drama whipping us up. People are actually cool. I was starting to doubt that, but it's been really fun. So, and other than that, just, the usual, as you both know, busy, writing. What new project? Like the squirrel of projects. Oh, let's do this. This is exciting. It's just keeping up with them all.
Well, you also manage a magazine as well, though, too. Am I correct?
Oh, right. Yeah. Speaking of the squirrel and all the projects. Yeah. Space and Time magazine. It's been around since 1966. I'm the third publisher. Yeah. A lot of people remember, that's the emails I get is, I remember reading this as a kid or a teenager. Claims to fame. I didn't start it, of course, in 1966. I wasn't here, but it was Gordon Linsner started it on a mimeograph machine in high school. And it has still lived. I swear, it's like the vampire of magazines. It has its own cognizance. It's a self-sustaining entity, but it has been awesome. We had Kiss did, oh my gosh, now I can't remember his name. The lead singer of Kiss did artwork for it. Yeah, thank you. Is it? Yeah, anyways, he did artwork for the magazine when he was 13, and that's in issue 4 or 5.
Wow.
Yeah, there's so many little nuggets like that. Yeah. That's one of the things I've been working on, speaking of the squirrel and the projects, is putting together a complete history of Space and Time magazine that it's interactive. So you can go through, read the old copies. We 2 or 3 years to track down a scan of each copy, because I think we're on 148 now. But so that's what I'm putting together now in that community. So it's been awesome.
Incredible. So tell me a little bit more about How to Be an Authortunist. Love the cover, by the way, and I love the name. Have you trademarked that yet?
I didn't, but because I just remembered that's on my list. No, it was my daughter actually did the cover. She's my graphic artist. So that is one of the best ways to get help, is to just have them and raise them to your specifications.
Yeah. Raise cover designers.
Yeah. I don't know where the accountant went. I swear I had one, but she did the cover. Honestly, there's a joke behind it. I did the first cover and the book didn't sell. And I am not a graphic artist. It was a terrible cover, but I liked it because it featured a raccoon, because I like raccoons. And when I was asked by certain people, why did you choose a raccoon? I was like, oh, because they're Authortunists. I mean, they're opportunists, So yeah, that's great branding. And then, anyway, she did the cover immediately. With that cover, everybody started messaging me. Oh, I don't know, you didn't know you had this book. It's great. I bought a copy. It's, and it took off. With my cover, I was like, well, it's been sitting there since February, guys. I mean, remember the blue, the baby blue and the orange? I thought that was a great combination. what? So part of my advice is stick in your lane. Like what you're good at, stay there. Don't try to be a graphic artist if you're not a graphic artist. Yeah, I mean, dabble for fun, but do what you're good at and make that traction.
Dale mentioned Substack when he introduced you, and I saw he was talking about your Substack on his podcast, and I subscribed right away because there aren't a lot of I think online publications that sum up that many different areas of opportunities. Talk a little bit about for first time or newer authors or people, or maybe longtime authors who really haven't connected with the community. What are some ways that they can start getting involved and finding Authortunities out there?
Well, the first thing would be to go subscribe to Authortunities, and it is free. There's 2 weeks free, and then there's a paid 2 weeks ahead is the paid version. But wait 2 weeks, you can get that free too. I'm a terrible business person, but I do love what I'm doing.
Well, thanks for the tip, because it's
it's about just
2
wait
weeks.
a week. You know, it's only for the overachievers those extra 2 weeks. So, but there are so many. One of the things that I hear authors talk about a lot is, how can I get out there? How can I promote myself? It's so hard. It is as close as the open mic that is somewhere at a computer near you. And the trick is finding it, which is why I put together the newsletter. I came from the newspaper world way back in the day when those were a thing. And one of the tasks that I had was the community calendar. And I know it sounds very nerdy, and this is who I am, but I loved putting together the community news calendar, not newsletter, calendar. Back in the days, we called it a calendar. But it was seeing that was the most important feature of the weekly paper. This was a small town called Niceville. That's a real name. Only one in the world. But so many people loved that community newspaper calendar. That was the important part, because it connected them to the community. What's going on? We can't possibly know. You can belong to 1 million Facebook groups. You can Google till your fingers fall off. But you have two choices, I think, as an author. One is find all these things, find the submissions, find the contests, the award circuit, the open mics, the educational things like this, or you can subscribe to something that curates them for you, and then save that time for actually going and connecting and reading your poetry or your prose or whatever you want to perform, and making the submissions. Less time. That's the catchphrase is less time searching, more time submitting with Authortunities. So
it's incredible, the resources that you put out. I was just blown away, and I wish I'd found you a lot sooner, because me being in the position I am, I'm always trying to curate and deliver as much information to self-published authors as I can. So tripping over your Authortunities newsletter was huge. So what can we expect from How to Be an Authortunist? Is this going to be like a list of things to do, or is this kind of a step-by-step practical guide to finding those opportunities?
It's actually more of a how to think. And it comes from probably a decade of me teaching workshops and classes and guest posts, and then realizing that I'm saying the same thing over and over to different people. And so I kind of pulled it all together and put it in this one book. And it was just kind of my reader magnet, not really meant to be a great thing, that got me any kind of notoriety, except for then my daughter did the cover, and that's the end of that story. But so it's more, there are some just basic tools like using binaural beats. I don't know if you know what that is, free on YouTube, but yeah, they react with the as a non-scientist, I'm going to describe this, reacts with the way your brain waves work. And so you can use them for relaxation, sleeping. I use it for focus and creativity a lot. You can legit sit there and just have that time where you're like, I can't focus. I have this deadline. I can't do this. Put on the binaural beats. You do have to use headphones so that it, I guess, cements it into your brain better. But, and then like within 5 minutes, I'm there. I'm in the zone. It's like having the zone as close as just plugging in. So there's some tips like that in there that are just very practical. And then there's a lot in there about how to think. You know, one of the things that I think media does this to us, tries to convince us we should all be alike. And perfect is boring. Perfect is forgotten. Line up a bunch of perfect Barbies and you're not going to remember which one is which. You don't want to be perfect. You want to be yourself. You want to be authentic. You know, not so bizarre that people can't digest you. But
I've been down that dusty road.
Yeah, so am I. That's why I'm like, but not that yourself, guys. You do have to have the
Angela,
mask.
we do have to start to wrap things up because we have to get into our next guests. This is your last second plea here. 5 seconds you've got to push how to be an Authortunist and why people should vote for it in the virtual book fair.
Well, I just happen to have this. It's way more fun to vote for me than any of the political voting you might be able to do right now. This is the fun voting. You will not get in a fight with anybody which way you vote. But also just, I say vote for it because I am talking about how to be an Authortunist. And Authortunities is everywhere. It's for writers. It's also for anybody that's trying to get out there.
It's a great concept.
Thank you so much, Angela.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to go listen now. These are great interviews. Oh, and I'm doing a sequel to Larry Roberts' book, Under the Black Hat. So I just want to put that in there.
Well done.
It is already my title, Larry, back off.
There we go. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Angela.